Hi, everybody. Welcome to the season of rejoicing. This is very exciting times. All the work that we've been doing on getting closer to Hashem during Elul, the king was in the field, and Tishrei, really rejoicing with Hashem that we have crowned Hashem as our king. And the happier we are that we crowned him, the more we get to celebrate during Sukkot. So, ready for some stories to help us really enjoy Sukkot that much better? We have online with us Mrs. Serebranski, who is going to get us ready also with a story. And I bless all of you to just really be besimcha and know that when you're sitting in the sukkah, it's one of the most exciting mitzvah, because not only do you get to be totally surrounded by kedusha, because every other mitzvah, you use your hand, you use your this, you use your that, but when you're sitting in a sukkah, it's like the kedusha is surrounding you. And at the same time, when you do lulav and etrog, you're able to draw the lights of Hashem's holiness really inward. That's why you bring the lulav to your heart, because it's drawing the blessings of Hashem inside of you, which basically means we're pushing away the darkness of our animal soul. We're pushing away the Yetzer Hara when there's more and more light coming within our heart. I want to share with you two stories. One is very quick and another one's a little more detailed, and then we're going to have Rochie, who is on the line, with the third story. At one point, there were these two Hasidim who were so busy doing Avas Yisrael and helping all the poor and needy put up their sukkahs that they barely had time, like right before Shkia, to put up their own. So they just really quickly did it with barely a nail here and barely a nail there, but Baruch Hashem, they managed to get it up. And lo and behold, it was such a storm that Sukkot, it was very fascinating, because everyone thought for sure, these Hasidim were discussing, oh no, what about our sukkah? When they came back from shul, they noticed, because they were walking around, they saw so many different sukkahs all over, but their sukkah had stayed strong. So the message was so clear by everyone. Look what Avas Yisrael they had in helping so many people build their sukkah at the expense of building their own sukkah, that Hashem protected their sukkah and kept their sukkah together. There was another amazing lesson of, how Hashem just really loves when we have such Avas Yisrael and care for one another. In fact, in the Gemara, it says that Hashem, just wanted to bring so many blessings into the world, but he just couldn't find something big enough to really contain the blessings that he wanted for us, until he realized that through shalom, when people are friendly and care about one another, that is the means and the way by which Hashem could really bring more and more blessings into the world and give us everything that he wants us to give. So Bezrat Hashem, this is a time of Avos Yisrael, the time of Sukkot, a time of unity, when all four different types of Jews are bound together and sitting together with Achdus and celebrating and dancing with the feet as one with the Torah, that will bring more and more blessings this coming year. Mamish, to bring the Gula, Bezrat Hashem. And now the second story is a story of a man that was very, very wealthy and had everything in his life, had the most amazing, beautiful sukkah, but he was always finding something to be miserable about. There was always something that bothered him, always taking away from his happiness, even though he had everything to be happy about, really. His neighbor, so poor, barely have a sukkah, barely had, food to eat in the sukkah, but somehow this chassid was just always so happy. And this man was really super jealous of him. What does he have to be happy about? He's poor, he has problems with finances, and yet there's always joy and singing and dancing in the sukkah. He was so upset and so bothered. He wanted to take away the neighbor's happiness that he told all the merchants in the city not to let this man buy this year wood to build his sukkah. And what happened was, it was very strange when the man went to go shopping. But he just said, very interesting, okay. I guess I'm going to have to get it from some other means. So he went. It was actually kind of a weird idea. He said, I'll go near in the woods and I'll get the wood planks, even though it's near the grave site. But that's what I have to do. I'll get my own wood. So he went and he got his own wood from the woods, and he built a sukkah. And the man was couldn't believe that the sukkah came up, and again, he was amazed that the man was so happy. And before you know it, the man could not believe. So he went into the other man's sukkah and was confronted him. And before you knew it, they were sitting together and discussing, what is it that's making you so happy? I can't even believe it. Even all the work that you went through to get your own sukkah, and you still have your joy. Tell me what's going on. He was so upset, but and bothered and jealous at the same time that he wanted that simcha for himself. So the man, the chassid, actually said, I have Hashem always with me. And he said, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tami, that I know that everything comes from Hashem and that everything is good. And Baruch Hashem, that is what makes me happy. And so the man took it in, and Baruch Hashem, it opened his eyes. It made an impact on him. And from that day on, he mamish had a hachlata to try his best to see everything that is Hashem, and that all he needs is Hashem to be happy. And Baruch Hashem, it changed his life, and he started less and less being annoyed and depressed about things, and he became more and more happy. And if you look at the word Shiviti Hashem, I was reading it in a different book. Shiviti actually comes from the word Shaveh in Hebrew, means equal. That when a person just has the thought that everything is equal, meaning even the seemingly not so good things that happens to you is equally good to the good things. It's all from Hashem. It's all good. So the more you just get in the habit and train your mind to realize that everything is coming from Hashem, and to make everything equal. For instance, if a wonderful trait that a person can have is that he doesn't feel bothered when people act in a negative way toward them. He makes it equal as if they praised him. And that even when someone praises him, it's equal to the happiness and joy that he knows that it's from Hashem, as well as when things aren't going the right way. And we can go more in detail another time of how to really train oneself. But now I would like to give you Mrs. Serebranski and her story.
Miriam, I really want to thank you for the wonderful message of bitachon, because if we have that, then we can sail through life.
Really,
in spite of the challenges that come our way in a more peaceful way. So I want to really thank you for that message, and also for all the other wonderful things you taught us about unity and about simcha that you mentioned in the first first part of your talk. So thanks again.
You're welcome.
And
my pleasure.
And I guess I will start with the story of really, it really uplifted me, so I'm sure that it will uplift you and add to your Simchas Yontif. The name of the story is called The Splendid Aroma. And this story takes place in the shul of Reb Melech of Lizhensk. It was Yontif, and it was Sukkot, and the atmosphere of Yontif was felt very much in the shul of Reb Melech of Lizhensk. As the tzaddik, Reb Melech was going up to the bima and starting to say Hallel, all eyes were directed at him. It looked as if Reb Melech was bothered by something. After davening, Reb Melech walked over to his brother, Reb Zusha, and said, "Please, help me find the esrog whose splendid aroma fills the whole shul." The two brothers walked from bench to bench and from davener to davener until they stopped in front of a simple-looking Jew deep in thought. At last, they found the person with the esrog which had the splendid aroma. "At last we found it," Reb Melech cried out. "Tell me, my friend, where did you get such a splendid esrog? Its fragrance is the fragrance of the smell of Gan Eden." Surprised by the unexpected question, the man answered slowly, "My name is Uri, and I come from Stralisik. I always held the mitzvah of esrog and lulav very dear to me. During the year, I work very hard, and I really don't make much money. But since the esrog and lulav, that mitzvah is so dear to me, before Sukkot, myself and my wife work very, very hard and overtime in order to be able to buy a beautiful lulav and esrog. A week before Yontif, my wife hires herself out as a cook in order to help pay for the lulav and esrog. And I walk to Lemberg, the market, by foot in order to save money. On my way to the market, I stopped at an inn. And I heard a Jew shouting out. It sounded like he was in big trouble. I ran over to the innkeeper and asked who was screaming. The innkeeper led me to a side room where I saw a Jew dressed in farmer's clothing. Angrily, he waved his whip and cried out, "I have nothing to live for. I might as well just end my life here." Soon I found out that the Jew was a wagon driver whose horse had collapsed and died. I tried to comfort him and told him a Jew must never give up hope. The innkeeper felt really bad for the man and said, "I have a wonderful horse worth 80 golden coins, but I'll sell it to you for 50 golden coins. The driver screamed out, "But I don't even have a penny to my name." At that moment, I felt as if the 50 golden coins I set aside for the lulav and esrog were burning a hole in my pocket. I went over to the innkeeper and said, "Can you lower the price just a little bit?" He did. He lowered the price to 45 golden coins. Immediately, I took the 45 golden coins and handed it to the innkeeper. The driver was so shocked he couldn't even say a word. Turning to the driver, I said, "A Jew never gives up hope." I gathered my belongings and I left the inn. I came to Lemberg with exactly 5 golden coins in my pocket. Had no choice and bought a simple lulav and esrog. In the past years, people would come from all over to say the bracha on the lulav and esrog. This year, I was too embarrassed to spend Yontif at home. And with my wife's permission, instead of going home, I set out to Lizhensk, which is where Reb Melech's shul was, where Reb Melech lived. Excitedly, Reb Melech grabbed Uri by the hand and said, "But your esrog is wonderful. It's the smell of Gan Eden. Now let me tell you what happened as soon as you left the inn," Reb Melech said to the wagon driver. "I know everything that happened. When the driver got over the shock of you paying for the horse, he decided that you were none other than Eliyahu Hanavi. The poor farmer wanted to express his thanks to Hashem and daven, but was illiterate and couldn't. Taking out the whip, he waved it with all his might and cried out, 'Ribbono shel Olam, I love you much more than my wife and family. But how can I prove it to you? Let my whiplashes be as if I read the whole book of Tehillim.' All this happened during one of the days of Aseret Yemei Tshuva. On that same day that this happened with the wagon driver, and the wagon driver raised his whip in the air and screamed out to Hashem how much he loved him, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was busy pushing a wagon full of mitzvos to the gates of Shemayim. Suddenly, the Satan disturbed Reb Levi Yitzchak by scattering the ground with many averos that the Yidden did throughout the year. The path was so cluttered with averos that it was impossible for Reb Levi Yitzchak to move the wagon of mitzvahs to the gates of Shemayim. Even though, Reb Melech said, myself and my brother Reb Zusha and Reb Levi Yitzchak all tried pushing the wagon together, to no avail. We were not able to push it. Suddenly, a strange noise pierced the air. It sounded like a whiplash. Before our eyes, the sound was transformed into a powerful beam of light, which lit up the whole Shemayim and made it possible for us to see the angels and tzaddikim. Soon we heard a simple Jew cry out, "I love Hashem!" While all the malachim answered, "Amen." At that moment, Malach Michael appeared, the good angel. He was leading a horse. A driver followed behind. Michael harnessed the horse to Reb Levi Yitzchak's wagon of mitzvos, and the driver waved his whip in the air. Then the wagon dashed forward, the horse leaping ahead, pulling the wagon to the heavenly throne. The driver was welcomed by the Malachim in Shemayim with great honor. And after that, the mitzvos were unloaded, and the Yidden were inscribed for a sweet year in Hashem's Book of Life for a good life. And that's the end of the story. So I guess we can learn from, the moral of the story is that when we have Avas Hashem and Avas Yisrael and Avas HaTorah, and we make sure that takes precedence. It causes a big roshim in Shemayim, and we hope with that we can bring the Geula.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and wishing you all a Chag Sameach, the Samachta B'Chagecha, and we should all be zeicha to be dancing with the Geula Shleima to Yerushalayim.
After hearing that story, I feel like I wish I had a whip and I could be whipping up some praises of Hashem and Yahoo!
But that's just it. In our mundane, everyday life, it's not necessarily the big things; it's the little things, the mitzvahs that come our way, and we think, oh well, like just going that extra mile to help someone who asks for help, or somebody that needs help and is embarrassed to ask for help. Just to go that extra mile can be equivalent to that whiplash. So we really never know the value of our mitzvah.
Yeah, it's amazing because I was just reading today's Tanya and was talking about how, we mamish through tzedakah bring the Shechina, out of the dust and out of Galus. That we can't even imagine. You know, we say in our prayers every day, right before Baruch Shamar. I actually stop every day when I get to this point. Liyechuda Shem Yud-K and Bevav-K B'Yechuda Shlim B'Shem Kol Yisrael. You know, it starts with L'Shem Yechud Kedisha Brichu. U'Shchinte Liyechuda Shem Yud-K Bevav-K B'Yechuda Shlim B'Shem Kol Yisrael. So it's like
right before Baruch Shamar, right?
Before Baruch Shamar, because the Shechina is here, and it's like in Galus with us. And it's when we do acts of kindness, it actually lifts it up and unites it with Hashem. So that at the same time we're drawing Hashem down here more and more, preparing the world for Mashiach, and at the same time raising the Shechina out of its Galus.
Wow, Amen.
Yeah, and Bezrat Hashem, just more and more acts of kindness, more and more sweet talk, you know, patience in the way we deal with the life events and with the people sometimes that are, you know, not so easy to deal with, whether it's a brother or sometimes a sister, or even, you know, a mother that really needs our help because of all the things that she goes through every day just to get the house going. It's like that is tzedakah in itself. Not only the money we give, but the acts of kindness that we do for one another.
Right. Ditto, because you just, you know, I was just going to add to that, but you said it all. So I just, ditto, I feel the same way, you know. You know, if you can help somebody with money, that's nice and that's great and that's wonderful, but tzedakah not necessarily is limited to money. It's, you know, just smiling to somebody on the street or taking time out to call somebody and wish them a good yontif who really doesn't have family or friends or anything, you know, and just anything, any act of goodness and kindness brings Mashiach closer.
And whoever is listening to this message, give the number out to your friends, especially if you know friends that are not so frum or that are completely like, you know, have no clue what's going on, you know, with the holidays or with the, you know, it's just a real act of kindness to spread, you know, this information to other people by getting them to listen, getting them to get involved in learning even in this way. Bezrat Hashem, and just keep shining by smiling while you're doing everything you're doing for Hashem.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And on that note, I am going to act on what you just said. I have someone in mind. I'm going to call them.
Okay.
And tell them to distribute the number among the people in their community.
Yeah, I'm going to Sukkot Hop in Great Neck, and I'm going to take it with me, and there's like 70, 80 children. I'm just going to give everyone that flyer, too. And thank you, Rochie, for helping me put that beautiful flyer together. Every time I look at it, I want to, like, you know, get on the phone and do the shir. All right. I could be on here forever, but I guess we got to get back to the cooking.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good yontif.
Bye. Bye.